Roboute Guilliman was one of the first Primarchs, son of the living god emperor, who was destined to be one of the greatest champions of humanity. Unfortunately for him, he nearly succumbed to a fatal wound at the hands of his brother, razor's edge away from certain death. There's no time to get into his resurrection. That's for another time. What's even more interesting is what happened when he returned to the Imperium. After 10,000 years, he came back to a nightmare. The galaxy was split in half, the influence of chaos oozed out of every corner of the galaxy, and the Imperium he helped build was barely functioning. So Guilliman did what no one else could. He took extreme ownership. He launched a massive military campaign, introduced new, stronger Space Marines, and he began fixing the Imperium's broken administrative systems. But almost immediately, something started going wrong. At first, it didn't seem like betrayal. Just usual problems you'd expect from worthless administrators and clerks, supplies arriving late, meant to support the war effort, orders getting lost, reinforcements failing to show up. In the Imperium, that wasn't unusual. It's a massive, slow, bureaucratic machine, responsible for more carnage than humanity's most deadliest weapons. But Guilliman noticed something others didn't. These weren't random failures. There was a pattern of failures, impossible to not notice, and they were happening too often, and in very specific places. At the center of all power in the Imperium sits the Senatorum Imperialis, aka the High Lords of Terra. For 10,000 years they controlled everything. They ruled through layers of bureaucracy so complex that no single person could challenge them. Kind of like Washington, D.C. Sorry, Trump, but you're losing this fight too. That system kept them in power, and then Guilliman returned, the Primarch, the son of the Emperor, a champion of Terra, a leader who could cut through all of the nonsense. To much of humanity, he was a savior, but to the High Lords, he was a threat to their power. They've clinged onto like a life raft in the ocean. Then Guilliman noticed something worse. His own chapter, the Ultramarines, were being affected. Support fleets were redirected. Critical resources were reassigned. Requests for aid were denied. Each decision had a reasonable excuse, but together, they told a different story. Someone wasn't just slowing the system down, someone was holding Guilliman back. Guilliman didn't react emotionally. Like a true stoic, he made ready for war with a machine that didn't have wheels, bullets, bombs, or mortar oil. He investigated, he reviewed records, compared supply routes, tracked fleet movements across entire systems. And what he found was clear. This wasn't incompetence, it was intentional. The orders were coming from Terra, from within the High Lords themselves. Why they turned against them? The High Lords weren't traitors to humanity. They weren't servants of chaos. They were afraid. Because Guilliman had something no one else did. Authority. If he succeeded in reforming the Imperium, he could take total control. A living Primarch, commanding armies, rewriting systems, gaining loyalty across the galaxy. To them, that looked like the end of their power. And nothing is more deadlier than an administrative body that is on the ropes. Just look at how the deep state within the United States is behaving. So they made a choice, not to confront him directly, but to slow him down, undermine him, contain him. Even if it weakened the Imperium in the process, eventually Guilliman gathered enough proof, intercepted messages, orders traced back to key officials, delays that couldn't be explained away. This wasn't a coincidence. It was organized resistance, mutiny of sorts. A quiet conspiracy within the Senatorum Imperialis. But Guilliman didn't start a war on Terra. He didn't execute the High Lords in public. Perhaps he should have. Instead, he acted with precision. Officials were removed, leaders were replaced, power structures were quietly reshaped. One by one, the people working against him disappeared from positions of influence. No spectacle, no chaos, just control. But Guilliman understood something deeper. This wasn't just about a few corrupt leaders. This is about the Imperium itself, a system so old, so rigid, and so resistant to change that it would resist being saved even by one of the Emperor's own sons. Guilliman returned to save humanity, but instead of unity, he found resistance. Instead of support, he found fear. And instead of a single enemy, he found a system fighting against him from within. Because in the grim darkness of the far future, war isn't just fought with weapons. It's fought with power, with control, with fear. And sometimes the most dangerous enemies are the ones sitting beside you. The traitors were violently purged after Roboute Guilliman baited the worthless snobby bureaucrats into a failed coup. Once exposed, the stunning and brave Custodes dealt with them. Just kidding, the real Custodes and the Imperial assassins dealt with the traitors so Roboute Guilliman, the Supreme Star-Lord, could continue on with the Indomitus Crusade.